Good afternoon and welcome to Reality Check. I'm your host, Allison Lang, and thanks to a partnership between my agency, Each One Teach One, and the Delaware Prevention Network Alliance, I'm here today to challenge and empower you to be healthier. As a matter of fact, I'm asking you today to be able to answer this question by the end of our program. Are you the drug dealer in your home and your community? Now, why would I ask that? Because lots of you are out there taking medications for that aching back, that hip and knee replacement surgery, arthritis, all kinds of ailments. We are told in today's society, take a pill and you'll feel better. And because of that, we are now faced with a different type of epidemic. We're talking about prescription drug abuse. And did you know that today's teens are abusing prescription drugs more now than ever before? As a matter of fact, they're doing it more than they are using illicit marijuana. So, today we're going to enlighten you about Prescription Take Back Day, which is a new national initiative, and I have a group of wonderful people who are going to be here to help educate and make you aware of what you can do when it comes to prescription drug use. That is such a hard thing to say. We're going to talk about prescription drug abuse, we're going to talk about treatment, and we're also going to talk about how you should properly dispose of the drugs that may be laying around in your house that have expired or they are unused. Today's guest joining me today will be Laurie Tudor from the Delaware Prevention Network Alliance. We also have Brandon Furrow, who's from what we call DPNA. We also have Pat Evans with SODAT, and we have a wonderful young lady who's going to share her story of triumph over prescription drug addiction. So, without further ado, I would like for you to welcome with me Miss Laurie Tudor from the Delaware Prevention Network, which we will refer to from now on as DPNA. Hi, Laurie.
Hi, Allison.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And Laurie and I actually work together as consultants with the Delaware Prevention Network, and so she brought this new initiative, Prescription Take Back Day, to my attention, and we thought, well, hey, now's a good time to kind of educate all of Newcastle County about an issue that we very rarely hear about, right?
That's right.
So before we get into our issue today, can you tell our audience a little bit about the Delaware Prevention Network Alliance?
Well, the Delaware Prevention Network Alliance, DPNA, is an alliance of around 10 different agencies all across the state which are engaged in working towards preventing substance abuse, particularly substance abuse among young people. The history of the DPNA goes back many years in different names and different configurations. It was called WCASA, Wilmington Cluster Against Substance Abuse, at one time. There was a statewide DCASA, Delaware similarly Cluster Against Substance Abuse. But over time, this group of agencies with some changes has been working to try to prevent kids from getting into these unhealthy behaviors and decisions that are dangerous to their lives.
And in addition to working with the kids, it's my understanding you also work with the parents and their communities. You work with kids in school as well as out of school, correct?
Ideally, you would work with kids in all aspects of their lives, and parents are a very important factor in helping kids avoid these unhealthy kinds of behaviors.
Okay, and I'm going to put Laurie on the spot. Can you name all 10 agencies that are part of the Delaware Prevention Network
Alliance? She didn't tell me she's going to do that.
I'll help you out. I can
yes.
do that.
Okay. West End Neighborhood House. Okay. Rose Hill Community Center.
I'm fingering down here.
Latin American Community Center. Okay. Otis A. Herring Community Services. Okay. Edgemore Community Center, which is where my office is.
I don't want to leave that one.
William Hicks Anderson Community Center, downtown in the city. I always think of it as West Center City, but that's a very old name. Okay. How many have I got now?
So far, we're up to 5. Latin American Community Center.
I said Latin American.
Oh, you did? Okay, I missed that one. Okay, First State Community Action.
First State Community Action, which is really a statewide agency, but does these activities primarily in the southern counties. Okay. And Delaware Parents Association, which is in Kent County.
And lastly, Neighborhood House in Southbridge.
And Neighborhood House in Southbridge, yes.
Okay,
so we've got a large number of groups which are partnering to try to work on these issues in DPNA.
Now, I said earlier, and which is probably to some degree an insult to some of our viewers, that they could actually, or well, let me say you could unknowingly be a drug dealer. Because a lot of times, and what we're hearing, and I'm sure you're going to share with us some of the research, young people are now, and not even just young people, but primarily young people, are getting a lot of drugs right out of the medicine cabinet at home. And unfortunately, they are using and abusing them. So how bad is the problem that we're looking at with this?
Well, first of all, let me start by talking a little bit about why this is so dangerous, because one of the things we have learned from some of the research that's been done is that people don't see this as being as risky as it really is, because it's medicine. The doctor prescribed it, so of course it must be okay.
Right.
Without taking into account that when your doctor, when your healthcare professional gives you a prescription, the doctor has weighed the benefit of that prescription against the risks involved in that prescription, and the doctor is monitoring your use of it, hopefully.
Right.
And there are doctors who are not doing a good job of this, but by and large they are monitoring it. So when someone abuses a prescription drug, there are two ways in which this happens, actually. Sometimes they're taking it, or several ways, for something it wasn't prescribed for.
Okay.
Sometimes they might be taking more than they should because they're hoping to lose weight faster or something like that.
Or sometimes with painkillers, the pain may not be, it may still be pretty severe.
Maybe they're feeling like it's not helping with the pain quickly enough.
Okay.
Or they're trying to get high. And there are three main kinds of prescription drugs that are of major concern.
Okay.
Painkillers.
Okay.
Stimulants.
Okay.
And sedatives.
All right, so remember that there are three classifications of drugs we're talking about with respect to prescription drug abuse. Painkillers, stimulants, and what was the third one?
Sedatives.
Sedatives. Okay, those things that knock you out. Okay.
Yeah. So the painkillers, if you don't use them appropriately, can cause difficulty breathing and can lead to death. This is stuff like Percocet and Oxycodone.
And actually, that may also would have happened with Michael Jackson taking the painkillers.
Yes.
Okay.
The stimulants can lead to dangerous increases in blood pressure, heart failure, fatal seizures, and also to hostility and paranoia, which can lead to behavior that can be dangerous.
Okay, so amongst all my drugs, I forgot to buy some of those weight loss things, because that's what a lot of the stimulants are. Okay.
And then the sedatives are people can have seizures from them. This is stuff to calm you down, etc. You can have seizures. It can affect your motor skills, your judgment, your ability to learn. So kids who might be doing this might not learn as well as they might should, and they can thereby increase the risk of injury. So if you were driving a car and overdoing the sedatives, that might be a very dangerous activity.
Okay. All right, so now that we know a little bit about why they're dangerous, okay, especially if people are taking them and they weren't prescribed to take them, what are we talking about? For example, I read as I was preparing for today's show that every day 2,500 young people between the ages of 12 and 17 are abusing painkillers for the first time.
For the first time.
Now, it just scares me to think that a 12-year-old is out there trying to take a pill, and I'm assuming it's to just experiment with, or curiosity, or
all of that. In the 2008, which is the last year that we have data on,
okay,
over 6 million Americans, 12 years of age and older, had abused a prescription drug or more than one in the past month.
Wow, that's a lot.
6.2 million, which is more than the number who were abusing heroin, cocaine, hallucinogens, and inhalants combined.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Most of the time when people think of drugs, they really think of the illegal or illicit drugs. They think of heroin, they think of crack cocaine, and they don't think about the medicine right there in their cabinet.
In a less than a 20-year period recently, they analyzed the unintentional overdose deaths involving these prescription opioids.
You said unintentional deaths.
Unintentional overdoses.
Okay.
That's not suicides, but unintentional overdoses had increased 175%.
Wow.
175%.
And if I can throw out a celebrity name yet again, if you all remember Heath Ledger, who was known for the Batman series, died unintentionally again because of drugs.
And if you go back a ways and look in the way back, Marilyn Monroe also died of a drug overdose.
Now hers was intentional though, or was it?
I don't remember.
Okay, can't remember. Well, but still, as well as Elvis Presley died from prescription drug overdose.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a major problem, and it costs our economy. They've estimated that the cost to public and private medical insurers, and this doesn't include then the lost productivity at work and that sort of thing, just to the medical insurance programs, $72 billion a year.
Okay, so if I am unknowingly a drug dealer in my home, you're saying that these high insurance rates that I am paying, part of the reason I'm paying these rates is because of the deaths and all of the outcomes related to prescription drug abuse.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so need to start checking how we, and we're going to talk about that later, right? How we can protect the medicines.
Yeah. And this stuff is addictive, and the over-the-counter stuff is also involved in some of this, but most of my information that I'm going to share today is not about that.
Okay.
But treatment admissions, for example, for the painkillers had increased over a 10-year period, increased more than 300%.
Wow, 300%?
In the U.S., 300% in the U.S. So that's this is really a big problem that is getting bigger, and we need to really address it.
And I would imagine too, I mean, we're talking somewhat about young people because I know that's one of the target populations for your organization, but at the same time, when we look at the economy and the downturn of the economy in the past 2 years, people are being out of work now or underemployed. They're definitely uninsured or underinsured. You know, I could see that some people may be popping even more pills just to kind of deaden the reality that we have to deal with. Yeah, the pain, absolutely. Well, we've learned quite a bit so far. So we're going to take actually it's not even a commercial break. I have found a couple of PSAs I wanted to share with you that I think will also shed some light. So this may be a good time for you to take a break, but I wish you would kind of stay with us because the PSAs we have some wonderful information that I think you will enjoy, as well as be able to make some use of it in your life. So stay tuned and check this out. Good afternoon and welcome back to Reality Check. I'm your host, Allison Lang, and today we're asking, are you the drug dealer in your home and or your community? Because we generally think we have a medicine cabinet, our medicines are safe in there, and as you will see as we go through the show, there are lots of ways for young people especially to have access to medications that they shouldn't be using at all, but then they also have access to over-the-drug-counter medicines or non-prescriptive. And if you were watching our PSA as opposed to taking a water break, you also found out that 2.1 million children are using prescription drugs or abusing prescription drugs between the ages of 12 and 17. So we really need to be more diligent about how we keep them. And as I was preparing for today's show and talking to people throughout the city actually about this issue and the upcoming prescription drug take-back day, I found that it was important to tell people they need to start locking up their drugs like they're locking up their weapons, if they have any, because it is just that serious. Now, we had Lori Tudor a little while ago, and now I have Brandon Furrow joining us, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the Delaware Prevention Network Alliance and the work that they do with young people, because it's not enough to just lock the drugs up. We also need to encourage young people to not use drugs, let alone abuse them. We don't want them to start using them, even if they have access to them. And so Brandon is here to talk to us a little bit about a program that he's involved in called All Stars. Welcome, Brandon.
Oh, thank you for having me on the show today.
And I know he's going to blush about this, but I want to say I am so proud of this young man. When I started my work in when I started my work in HIV prevention years ago, I used to train young people to be peer educators, and they would go out to schools and community centers and co-facilitate workshops with myself and other adults. And I've known Brandon since he was in the 10th grade. He was one of my peer educators, not only in the 10th grade, but all the way up through his college years, because he's a graduate of the University of Delaware. So I am so proud to be sitting with him today as a colleague in the field of prevention, as opposed to Miss Allison.
My boss.
Well, he still calls me Miss Allison. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today.
My pleasure. So tell us a little bit about All Stars and why does DPNA do this program?
Well, DPNA, I'm a program coordinator for DPNA,
Okay.
and we go around to different schools, community centers, wherever we can go to really inspire students to really find the best of themselves. So this program, All Stars, is actually brilliant, because instead of focusing on the substance, they always say it's not the guns that kill people, it's people that kill people,
Right.
whether they're using a gun or rope or whatever. So we're an anti-alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs prevention program, but we take the focus off of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. And it kind of baffles people when I present
I'm
that.
Sitting here feeling
but
a little like
it's important to realize that we're looking beyond the substance, beyond what we can really see, because behind closed doors, these students are really struggling with their self-esteem. Behind closed doors, they're really not responding well to their parents because they don't know how to be resilient. So it's really just a matter of building up their self-esteem, building up their character, so that they get to a point where it doesn't matter what situation they're in, they know who they are.
Well, that sounds like a wonderful program.
It's
As
a
a
great
matter of
program.
fact, I'm going to have this. There should be a woman who's going to call you, because I had the opportunity to attend Wilmington Wellness Day.
Okay.
And she's a pastor of a church, as a matter of fact.
Wonderful.
And she said, well, is there any way they can come to my church and do this program? And I said,
Absolutely.
lady, here's the number, and here's the person you need to ask
Yeah,
for.
I've done
So-
churches and things like that before.
So in essence, you're saying that your program doesn't say don't do drugs.
No.
But instead, your program says when you're faced with a difficult situation, or you're faced with challenges, or you're, not feeling the best that you can be,
Right.
these are some of the things that you could or should do instead.
Absolutely, or just realizing they come up with their own alternatives. They come up with their own alternatives because who knows them better than themselves?
Well, that's
know.
pretty good buy-in then, in terms of saying do this or think of this
Absolutely.
or do that.
I mean, let's look at the DARE programs. We love them, but they've heard the same message since the 5th grade. Don't do this, don't do this. If you tell me, I'm 25, you tell me to not do something, I'm going to question why and probably end up doing it anyway.
Yeah,
But
Mr. Rosenhoff.
we all have access to, drugs. We all have access to alcohol and things of that nature. But the reason why we do it or don't do it always resonates within ourselves. You know,
Very
and
good.
that's what we're trying to
So
get
what are some of the
across.
building blocks in terms of character that you are working with?
Creating a vision. Biggest thing, we always talk about idealism in the very beginning of the first 6 sessions that we have. It's all about idealism. If in a perfect world, what would it look like? What do you want? You know, so we're getting them to realize what they want, what they don't want, and how to go after what they want. So it's not so much this is a step 1-2 process, because let's keep it real, we all didn't become successful using a formula or the same pattern. We found our own way and we made it work for us. You know,
sometimes success is fleeting.
absolutely,
It comes and it goes.
Absolutely, but you have to stay consistent with who you are, knowing who you are, whether you're in Florida or Delaware, no matter where you are or no matter what situation you're in.
Okay, and how can people get in touch with you if they want you to bring this program? I mean, is it like 1 session or 1 month, or?
This is a 14-session program.
Okay.
So we go from idealism to actually making the commitment of what they really want, and we'll actually video tape them, and they get to see themselves on camera saying, you know, I want peace and fitness and wealth in my future. Beautiful program, really, very brilliant. How you can contact us, you can locate one of the local centers that Ms. Lori Tudor mentioned earlier in the session. I can't name them all because we don't have that kind of time. But I'm located at Edgemoor Community Center, 762-1391. Feel free to contact Brandon Farrell at any time.
Okay, now I'd also like, since a lot of our viewing audiences are parents and grandparents, we have a lot of grandparents, unfortunately, these days, taking care of their children.
Oh,
and God bless you all. I mean, you know, family is family,
Yeah.
but you know, it's not fair.
Yeah.
But what would you suggest to parents out there? Because I know that your program does involve some parent participation, but what message would you want our parents and grandparents to hear or to think about as we talk about this prescription drug problem?
Well, Ms. Allison, I really think you hit it on the nail earlier when you said it's a weapon. You know, it truly is a weapon. Anything in the wrong hands is a weapon.
Okay.
So, you know, we really have to treat these prescription drugs. There I go again. Prescription drugs, you got to treat them like a weapon. You have to treat these, you know, alcohol and your marijuana, because we know some adults, you know, they do it. That's their mentality, that it's okay to do it because I'm an adult. I was at a Wawa the other day, and this guy pulls up to me in the car and says, "Hey, you know where I can get some perks at?" He wasn't 15, he wasn't 16, he was a grown man looking for it. So we have it, and they have access to it, but we have to treat it as if it's a weapon that is dangerous, get rid of it, and take away their access to it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for those words of wisdom. I want you to stay tuned. We're going to show you another PSA about prescription drug abuse, and we'll be right back with another guest. Stay tuned.
I started doing pills when I hurt my knee. I got hurt in a snow tubing accident. Me and another friend hit a tree. I have this scar, and there's screws right here. They gave us prescription pills, painkillers, to help with the pain.
I get them because I got jumped when I was a couple years back, and they kicked me in the face and knocked my jaw out of place, and so I have to take him to move my jaw back into place when it gets popped back out.
But after the fact, like a couple months after I got hurt, I just decided that it made me feel good.
People like Perks and Oxys and Watsons and all them, because, and Lortabs, because it makes you feel good. It's like calms you down.
Since they're downers, they affect your circulatory system, respiratory system. It just kind of just slows everything down, makes you not feel as much.
It feels like almost nothing can hurt you. Like what's going on in reality doesn't affect you.
I think people like the pills because everybody's always worrying about something, or there's something that's bothering them.
Yeah, you could have girl problems or problems at home that you just can't deal with anymore.
My life's a crappy place. There's a lot of not healthy stuff in this world.
And they just want to hide from their problems, so they take the pills so it takes their mind off of their problems or the stress.
They're falling on the edge. They're like this.
And people use their drug to take care of issues in their life, issues with the people they love, instead of dealing with them up front.
I think that's the difference between that and weed. And weed, it just goes away. Pills, it just kind of sits on you.
Most anybody who uses a lot of marijuana, it's pretty easy to get them off it when they want to get off it. People addicted to pills, it's very difficult to get them off of pills because there is such a severe physical addiction.
I know a few people that take them, and like when they don't have them, they like kind of like withdraw. They get like this temper, and it's like awful. They like withdrawing, like they need them, like they depend on them.
Certainly plenty of famous people are addicted to pills. You know, Marilyn Monroe killed herself with pills. This famous person, Rush Limbaugh, was wildly addicted. I mean, he was probably taking hundreds of milligrams of OxyContin a day, every day. He was taking $10,000 at a time out of the bank to buy his OxyContins.
How do I think kids are getting them here? It's just like any other scam. Someone knows that there's a need, so they're filling the demand and basically making money off it.
My experience is the, 12 to 16-year-olds that are getting these narcotic pills almost always are boosting them from their families. You know, their mommy gets 100 and little Robert steals 20 and takes them to school.
People get him by knowing people who have him, or they get hurt themselves just so they could go to the hospital and get them.
There's a lot of dirty doctors out there. They don't sell you these pills, but they prescribe them.
You know, there are doctors in New Mexico who will give you 1,000 Percocet at a time.
People tend to think the heaviest one is actually, it's OxyContin, so we call them Oxys now.
I don't know, I don't deal with oxys. I ain't that stupid. I don't know, oxys is like heroin. They could die off one pill.
It is true that OxyContins are pill for pill more dangerous than Percocets, but Percocets are seriously dangerous. It's kind of like saying, would you rather get shot in the head with a 38 or a 44? Yeah, a 44 is worse, but a 38 isn't good for you.
I've known a couple people that have died from taking pills and drinking at the same time.
If you take too many of them, you do die. You quit breathing.
Yeah, one of my friends OD'd off one pill.
You could actually go to sleep not even considering what you've just done. Put yourself to sleep forever. And all I want to tell you, for those people that do this, is that there's other ways to enjoy what's going on around you. There is. There's so many people that care about you. Ultimately, it's, stand up for what you believe in. And if you don't believe that these drugs are for you, then don't do them.
Prescription drug abuse is an epidemic in this country, and the source of these drugs is often the home medicine cabinet. If you have unneeded or expired medications, now is the time to dispose of them. On Saturday, September 25th, the DEA and our partners are operating collection sites across America. Turn in your unused, unneeded, and expired medications, no questions asked. Visit DEA.gov to find a location near you. Good drugs can end up in bad places. Help keep prescription drugs off the streets.
Welcome back to Reality Check. I'm your host, Allison Lang, and today we're asking you, are you the drug dealer in your home or your community? And I'm holding a bowl because I want you to be aware of another phenomena. I was really hoping to get a group of young people to actually do a live skit today, and I guess it was just too sacred a day or too nice a day for them to come out. But I want you to be aware of something that the young people call farm parties. And farm, of course, is short for pharmaceutical, not the F-A-R-M, but the P-H-A-R-M, farm parties. And what young people have started doing lately is actually going into the medicine cabinets at home, grabbing a bunch of pills, and then going to somebody's house and pouring or dumping all of the pills into one bowl, and then taking out whatever color or size they think might look good. Now, what do you think would be the dangers of doing something like that? They don't know what the pill was prescribed for. They don't know what the dosage is. And depending on how mature or old they are, they may also be mixing these drugs with alcohol, beer, wine, and other substances. So we really have a prescription for danger and disaster that a lot of our young people are playing with. And I really want you all to be aware, and after today, look at where you are storing or keeping your medications and check and try to become aware of whether or not you have young people or anyone, because I had a woman who shared with me yesterday that she let a neighbor come into her house. The neighbor said, "Oh, I can't find my keys, I need to use your bathroom." The neighbor went to her bathroom and took an entire prescription. I think she said it was about 100 pills, took the prescription, just stole the whole thing, you know, instead of stealing 10 or 20 pills. So we really need to be more mindful of how we are storing our medications, especially if we're using them. And more importantly, later on before the end of the show, we're going to talk about properly disposing of pills that you may have laying around because they're expired or you didn't need them anymore. But before we get to that point, I want to introduce you to a young lady that I had the pleasure to meet in August. Delaware Prevention Network Alliance did a wonderful conference for young people called Teen Summit. And during the conference, we had 3 different workshops, one of which was actually prescription drugs and marijuana. During that workshop, we had a young lady that I've invited to come talk to you today because she had such a powerful story. And for any of you who know me a little bit, you know that in a former life, I was a professional dancer. And so this young lady really kind of hit home when I heard her story, because I had to have knee surgery at the age of 16 in order to fulfill a career in dance. And so she actually will tell you her story. So please welcome with me Elise. Hi, Elise.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So Elise, why don't you just kind of tell us a little bit about your story, because like I said, we both have a passion for dance. I'm a little bit too old to be out there on the stage now. But I can certainly understand and empathize with you and having to have surgery in order to fulfill your dream. What happened?
Well, my dream, my goal in life was to become a professional ballet dancer. I started at the age of 8, and when I was 16, I got injured. Okay. I had an ankle injury and I had to have surgery.
That's a pretty serious injury.
Yeah, and I became in love with the pain medication that my doctor gave me. Okay. And after I had that surgery, I discovered that I had other injuries in other joints. And from the age of 16 to 20, I had 8 surgeries in total on 5 different joints.
Wow. Now
all
these
because
were
of
all,
ballet.
Yeah, well, that's part of the problem with dancers. One, we always dance through the pain, even when we feel something.
Yep.
You know, once you get on that stage, you know, it's
you
almost a drug in and of itself. You just become numb, and you're, you know, so excited about having an audience.
Yep.
But that's a lot, and probably the surgeries were a result of trying to do too much with your body that you couldn't.
Yes, my body did not like it whatsoever.
So you're trying to turn out to 150 degrees? Or
yes, and it would say, no, we're not going this direction, no.
Okay.
But after my 3rd surgery, I believe it was the 2nd surgery in my right hip, I discovered that I was never going to dance again.
Wow, and now that's a real hard pill to swallow.
It was horrible.
Wow.
I went into a very deep depression, and I started crying at night and crying myself to sleep at night, and I started taking the pain medication that my doctor had given me for the headaches that I was getting from crying myself to sleep.
Wow, okay.
Because they not just took the pain away, but they helped me sleep.
Okay.
And I started crying during the day, and I started taking them during the day, and it became a habit. And I loved them because it got me out of myself. It just numbs not just my physical being, but my emotional and my spiritual self.
Yeah, so actually what you're saying is it's really a fine line between taking what's prescribed because you need it,
yes,
and then taking what you're prescribed when you think you need it for something other than what it was prescribed for.
Yep, I would save them. I would even save my prescription. I wouldn't use all the pills. I'd save them, and then whenever the pain went away from the surgery, result of the surgery, I would save them and use them for another, either just depression or just pain from my heart.
Did you ever share with your family or your physician that you were depressed or emotionally you needed a little more support?
I shared once with my mom in the car. I remember telling her, Mom, just please keep an eye on me. I'm feeling depressed. And she was like, okay. But she never really thought of it to be, very much. She didn't think it was too serious. And then I started losing weight when I was 18. I got down to about 105 pounds.
Oh.
You could see every rib in my back, every vertebrae in my spine. You could just about see my heart beating in my chest. I was that small.
Wow.
I withered away.
So what was the turning point? What caused you to kind of get over this challenge of having an addiction to your prescribed medication?
I actually, in the summer of 2008, I met my current boyfriend, and he's
Tom! He's a cutie too.
He was an addict himself, and at the time he was abusing not just prescription but other things. And once I saw once I saw what he was doing, I realized what I was doing, because I didn't realize it the whole time I was using for 5 years, abusing my prescriptions. I didn't realize it, and then once I saw what he was doing, I realized what I was doing. And May 17th of 2008, I was getting to pop my first pill in the morning, and I realized I stopped, and I was just like, what am I doing? My life is great. I have the most amazing guy in my life. I actually have a future now.
Okay.
And I put it down. I was scared stiff. I couldn't feel from my neck down. I was so scared. And I went to I went for treatment, and I work a 12-step program, and if it wasn't for that, I would not have been able to stay clean.
Okay, so fortunately we have some, and we're going to talk about that later today, some of the support systems that are available in terms of treatment, because you don't have to stay in that position of being addicted to a drug.
You
can
don't,
get the
and
help.
it was, abusing my pain medication was I shouldn't have done it, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
But it's given me a chance to grow as a person, and I was homeschooled. I didn't have any friends growing up. It was just me. I was by myself. And once I met my boyfriend, I was able to grow as a person. And once I discovered that, I was an addict, that I could do something about it. And it's okay to be an addict.
Okay.
Just as long as you do something about it.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for being brave enough to share your story with all of our viewers. And we're going to, in a little bit, we're going to have someone on from SODAT to talk to us about treatment. And of course, we're also going to talk more about Prescription Take Back Day, because we want everyone to know what they should do to properly dispose of their unused and expired drugs. We do not want you to be the drug dealer in your home or community. Stay tuned.
There's a frightening new kind of drug abuse creeping into our neighborhoods. It's already bigger with teens than ecstasy, meth, and heroin combined. And it can be just as dangerous. So who's supplying your kids? You are. Prescription drugs, ordinary cough remedies. Used as directed, it's medicine. Intentionally abused, it's a free high. Talk to your kids. Learn how at drugfree.org. Millions of teens have found a whole new way to get high on drugs that are all over the neighborhood. Legal drugs they can get anytime they want, for free, in almost any home in America. Cough medicines, prescription painkillers. Last year, more teens intentionally abused them than ecstasy, meth, and heroin combined. Learn how to talk to your kids about the drugs they get at home at drugfree.org.
Let me open that, Nana.
Every kid should be like you.
To learn more, visit drugfree.org.
What's this, documentary? Man, right here, this is my business. Buying, selling, whatever, Slow. Business is off, man. Sales are down. Seems like half my customers, they don't even need me anymore, they're getting high for free out of the medicine cabinets. How am I supposed to compete with that? Got kids? Well, next time something goes south with your kids, don't look at me, man. Ain't my problem. I didn't do it.
Teens don't need a drug dealer to get high.
I did.
Safeguard your prescriptions. Safeguard your teens.
I had a lot of stress in my life. and then I turned to prescription drugs. My life began to change, and my grades began to slip. I had a lot of stress before I started taking drugs. Live above the influence. Live above prescription drug abuse.
Prescription drug abuse is an epidemic in this country, and the source of these drugs is often the home medicine cabinet. If you have unneeded or expired medications, now is the time to dispose of them. On Saturday, September 25th, the DEA and our partners are operating collection sites across America. Turn in your unused, unneeded, and expired medications, no questions asked. Visit DEA.gov to find a location near you. Good drugs can end up in bad places. Help keep prescription drugs off the streets.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Reality Check. I'm your host, Allison Lang. Today we're talking about prescription drug abuse and Prescription Take-Back Day. And also we're going to talk now about treatment. I have the fortune and the pleasure of having Pat Evans with me. Wonderful, dear lady. I mean, talk about commitment. She's with SODAT, which is a drug treatment program here in Wilmington, and I'd like for her to tell us a little bit about your organization, your mission, your upcoming activities, and share with us some of the trials and tribulations of your clientele without using names, of course.
Okay, of course.
Yeah.
SODAT is actually the oldest running outpatient substance abuse treatment agency in the state of Delaware.
Oh, okay.
It was founded in 1971 originally by parents. And the title SODAT, the acronym, actually stands for Services to Overcome Drug Abuse Amongst Teens. Of course, anyone that knows SODAT knows that we are much more than teens right now. Probably 80% of our clients are adults.
Okay.
We have run the gamut of all ages. Our oldest client currently is 75, I believe.
75,
so,
wow.
You know, addiction does not discriminate.
Right. And what would you say is your youngest?
13. I believe we have a 13-year-old.
Okay.
And surprisingly, years ago, there was a big variance in the drugs. The kids were very specific to marijuana and alcohol, and occasionally you found some pills or something else going on.
Mm-hmm.
And adults were very specific to cocaine and alcohol and some heroin, and, you know, but right now, probably 35 to 40% of our clients are abusing prescription drugs,
wow,
which is really unusual. Kids like the high, and adults get addicted, and that's what we're finding is a lot of times there's a true medical problem that throws adults into having to use it, and now they can't stop. And the kids are, as you had your bowl up here, very non-discriminatory. It makes me feel good. So I took a blue one and a red one, and that's what they tell you. They really don't know what they're taking. I really, really caution parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whoever's out there raising teenagers. It's not like it used to be where your medicine cabinet was your medicine cabinet. You really have to be careful about where you put even innocuous things like over-the-counter cough syrups. Anyone that's in this field knows that right now a lot of the drugstores do not even have those drugs out. You have to, they're behind the counter now. A lot of them, you have to ask for them specifically and show ID.
And actually, I was surprised when I purchased these for today's show, and I thought, they didn't ask me for ID or anything. I was like, well, I guess I don't look like a teenager, so they wouldn't have to ask. But what I also found out was they have something inside the box. And so, you know, where someone may think I can go in there and buy it, they actually have some kind of security things in here. So you can't just walk out the door with this substance that has the you know, these products in it.
The companies are getting more responsible. Some of the companies are putting out 2 different makeups of the medication, so that there's some for behind the counter and then there's some for over the counter. And what people have to watch is if you really need the good stuff, are you getting it, or are you getting, you know, what they feel is safe? They're removing different medications out of the compounds to make them safer to be over the counter. But it can be anything. It really, I went to University of Delaware, I won't tell you how long ago, but I had a friend, a very good friend, very intelligent, but was so addicted to one of these bottles you have up here. He would do almost a gallon a day.
Oh my word.
Okay, and I mean, it was just incredible that he could function, that he could walk, that he could do anything, and he did not make it through, at least when I was there.
Okay.
But you know, people kept trying to caution him, and his feeling was he could buy it. He could go anywhere, but he could buy it in the student union. He could buy it, you know.
And there's no one who
there
can
was
monitor how
nobody,
much he's
exactly.
buying.
So he wasn't drinking alcohol. It wasn't illegal. It was, you know, and so people don't tend to take this very seriously, but it really, really can be.
It is. Now tell us a little bit, you have an event coming up in recognition of September is National Recovery Month.
That's it.
So tell us about your event coming
Every
up.
year we have had some type of activity, and over the last 3 years we used to have walks, now we have a 5K. And our 5K is held at the riverfront.
Okay.
It's coming up this week. This Wednesday, we usually start around 4:30. We have a health fair. We try to get people out to talk about substance abuse treatment. The theme is treatment does work, and Elisa's story was excellent.
Yes,
you know, it really does work. The addiction is not the problem; it's what you do about it.
Absolutely.
And so it's really this whole month is an opportunity to get information out to the community statewide about what we're doing, what the treatment community is doing, what the prevention community is doing, you know, where services can be allocated. We have offices in all 3 counties. Very few people know that.
Yeah, actually, because I said Wilmington.
And we actually have a very active prevention program in the Scope schools in Sussex County. So we're working in both of the alternative schools.
Okay, now we have to wrap up. So would you just quickly tell everyone the phone number they can reach you so they can
Anyone
get additional
interested in treatment services, if we can't do it, we can send you to somebody who can, or if you're interested in our 5K, please give me a call. The number to SODAT is 656-4044. That is the number that's active from 8 until 7:30 every day.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Pat, for coming on and sharing with us. Stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to talk about proper disposal of your prescription drugs in relationship to National Prescription Drug Take Back Day. Stay tuned. Good afternoon and welcome back to Reality Check. Don't make me laugh, y'all. I'm your host, Allison Lang, and today we're talking about Prescription Take Back Day, which is a national initiative, very new. Actually, this is the first year for it. We want people to make sure that they're not leaving drugs laying around the house unused or expired, because we don't want them to get into hands of young people or people who have addiction problems. And we have Laurie Tudor rejoining us now, who's going to answer a few very important questions, such as, why is it important for you to clean out the medicine cabinet? Why can't they just stay there?
Well, over 70% of the people who abuse these kinds of drugs tell us that they are getting them from family and friends, and often that's out of a medicine cabinet or purse or out of a kitchen cabinet. 56% of teenagers think that prescription drugs are easier for them to get than other drugs. So we need to not think of our houses as being totally secure. As the woman said to you, even her neighbor came in and stole a whole bottle of the stuff.
Right, absolutely, yep. And we showed some of that in our PSAs, young people going in the parents' purse or going into the medicine cabinet to get their drugs. Now, in terms of disposing of your drugs, why shouldn't I just flush them down the toilet? Because that way they're dissolved and I don't have to worry about it.
Well, there is some environmental hazard with flushing it down the toilet, so it's really preferable for you not to put it in the toilet and put it into the water supply. There are some things that are very, very dangerous, and there is a list. I think you can get at it through that DEA website that's been displayed on the screen.
Okay.
There are some drugs that they do still recommend flushing down the toilet because there are very high risks of death from taking them. So they still do recommend that in some cases.
Okay. Now, I love Maxwell House coffee. Not that I'm a spokesperson, but what should I do with this Maxwell House coffee?
Well, if we didn't have the Prescription Drug Take Back Day coming up on the 25th, this coming Saturday, there are ways for you to dispose of stuff at home. So if you're a coffee drinker and you have you've taken your coffee and you've made your coffee, you could throw your unused drugs into a container that you can seal and just put it in the household trash.
Okay.
One of the things that they recommend is kitty litter.
Kitty litter?
Kitty litter.
What are we going to do with kitty litter?
Well, you would take, instead of coffee grounds, you could use kitty litter.
Okay.
My personal addition to what they have on the websites about this is use your used kitty litter.
Yeah, really. Who wants to go in after that?
Who's going to want to go in after that? So the steps would be take the pills, throw them in the kitty litter or coffee grounds, seal it up, throw it in the trash.
Okay.
On the day of trash disposal. The other thing that they say about that I would like to mention is if you're throwing away the bottles that they came in, pull off the labels.
Oh, absolutely.
Pull off the labels so that somebody can't go in and say, oh, I'm refilling my prescription, or
Miss So-and-so, Miss John Brown told me to come pick up a prescription or call one in.
I don't think the pharmacy will let you do that, but nevertheless.
Okay, now what is the purpose of National Take Back Day, which you said is September the 25th, correct?
Yes. It's to provide a means for people who have this stuff sitting in their medicine cabinets to take it to a safe place where the police will be there and people will be there to help with the process. You take it out of the bottle, you dump it in the thing, then they're going to drive it up into an incinerator up in Pennsylvania and burn it up. So that they did this once before earlier this year, and someone told me the story of somebody turned in something that was like 50 years old that they had found in a parent's medicine cabinet or something, grandparents, something like that. So there are actually 4 places in Newcastle County.
And can you quickly tell us what those 4 places are? Just in Newcastle County?
Just in Newcastle County.
Which is the only place we're being shown anyway.
The Brandywine Town Center up
in Namens Road, okay, Brandywine Town Center, Namens Road.
Rodney Square in Wilmington.
Rodney Square in Wilmington, 11th and Market Street.
The Newcastle County Police on DuPont Highway.
Okay, Newcastle County Police on DuPont Highway.
And the Middletown Police Department.
Ah, Middletown, okay, that's right, that's part of Newcastle. So that's 4 places you can go next Saturday, September the 25th, and the time is 10 to 2 p.m., I believe.
That's right.
If you have unused, unwanted prescription medication that you would like to get rid of, take it to one of those 4 places. And if you didn't get all of that, call Lori at 762-1391, or you can go to the DEA.gov website. That's www.dea.gov, and you will find also a listing of the locations in Delaware, especially Newcastle, where you can get rid of your drugs. So I hope you can answer this question today. Are you the drug dealer in your home or community? And I hope your answer is no. And if it isn't, that soon it will be the answer, because you have to control the substances in your home. We hope that you got a lot out of today's program. I want to thank all of my wonderful guests, and I pray that you stay healthy. Until next time, God bless.